Hello and welcome to season 2 of Own Your Divine Light show. I am Janet Miller and I would like to introduce an extraordinary woman, Jessica Delmar. Jessica is an inspired oneness messenger and ascension knowledge keeper. She works in harmony with the energetic frequency of oneness through the lens of her vibrational inner being, meaning she is a conscious messenger of the source within that connects all things, a network of work, living, higher vibrational consciousness that is opening hearts and minds into a new earth. Jessica brings forth about all the knowledge about the new earth 5D ascension and consciousness shifts, as well as knowledge how to connect with your inner vibrational guidance system, which is your direct connection to your divine inner being in oneness. Mirrored in the reality you create and experience around you, her messages and information can be found on YouTube. And I have been following Jessica for almost a whole year now, and her messages are so powerful. I'm so excited she's here. And they're on YouTube, Patreon, and Instagram. Forgot to add those two. So welcome, Jessica. It's an honor to have you here. Such an honor.
Thank you so much, Janet. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so Jessica, I know you channel a group called Abe, and I guess I would really like to know, how did this start?
Well, first of all, it started off with Abe, yes, which is a oneness consciousness, but eventually that kind of led into more of that inner empowerment. So understanding that Abe was not necessarily a collective that was outside of me, but that it was fully within me as that inner source creator that you are, everyone is. So how did it start?
Yeah.
Well, a long story.
Well,
in the making of your entire life, right?
Whatever you need to hear. Where did it start? Did you start young?
Well, you know, looking back, I can, from where I am right now, I can look back and see how everything is connected. And I understand that where I am right now is the exact breakthrough that needed to happen because of all of the breadcrumbs along the way. And that started from when I was a child, for sure. I was very spiritually connected as a child. My mother passed away when I was 4 or 5 years old. So that really connected me to the non-physical in many, many ways. And that is kind of what was for me the catalyst of wanting to know deeper what was the non-physical, what was God, what was the unknown. And so throughout my entire life, it was a lot of it was a journey of trying to figure out answers to the bigger questions. And so, you know, breadcrumb after breadcrumb after breadcrumb, finally leading me into a more expanded place in the past 5 years, I'd say, where my diving deeper into a greater mission and purpose and what I was meant to be here for, and asking even deeper questions and wanting to know those answers, and then being guided to a more expansive place, meaning being guided to Dolores Cannon and QHHT and connecting to my spirit guidance, my higher self. And then, you know, layer after layer after layer, a house is built. And eventually there was some sort of breakthrough that connected me to a bit more of knowing what my higher self was, because I was connecting to my higher self for quite some time, especially working in QHHT and working with clients and really bringing through that higher self. But then I finally understood what great power that higher self had for me in my interpretation of it. There was a lot of synchronicities along the way. And in terms of like clients helping bring more awareness into my experience, really connecting with the Abraham Hicks material. Are you familiar with Abraham Hicks?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Esther Hicks. And understanding those breadcrumbs and the things that should really strongly resonate, or you're resonating with for a reason. And that they are, as where I am right now, and looking back, understanding that everything in your experience as your journey of your life are messages from your greater source within, that greater aspect of you that's trying to get you to notice something and understand that greater part of you.
Yeah, that's a huge journey, Jessica. And that's the journey I think all of us are really being pushed into right now. And you've gotten it because you've been on it. I mean, a lot of us have started a little bit while ago, but you started very young. And it's almost like your mom became your guide for you. I wouldn't be surprised if she was. How did she come through?
Absolutely. I mean, ever since I was a kid, I knew that I was protected. I knew that I had a connection to the non-physical in some way. And I wanted to understand God more. And my mother was sort of the doorway to connecting to God and that greater non-physical creator being that, I was never really a religious person, but I dove into religion trying to figure out what it was that I felt and trying to connect something along the way. And nothing really connected with a single religion, but a lot of many different things kind of helped me to build that bigger picture of what I perceived to be a greater creator being and energy in the non-physical.
Yeah, yeah, and I understand that because I think many of us were introduced to religion because we had to have some sort of a earthly foundation to cling to allow us to go deeper and to have the trust that, okay, this is okay, I can go further now. And then you start developing that trust to go further. And your mom was your catalyst. She was there to lead you. It's like she was taking you slowly by the hand, deeper and deeper into this level of consciousness that you've reached, this connection with your higher self, which is so powerful, so powerful.
Absolutely. There's a lot of, like I was saying, breadcrumbs along the way for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And for a lot of people, they're obvious that people may not understand our breadcrumbs and our catalysts for your expansion, meaning especially in the suffering and traumatic events and painful things that you experience.
Mm-hmm.
They are these huge points of expansion for you. And the thing that I'm realizing now, looking back, that helped to offer me more and more expansion along the way was every time I ever approached any sort of situation or experience that was of lower vibration or any sort of suffering or pain or anything like that, I always, and it probably had to do with my connection with my mom passing away and knowing that there was a connection to something greater there. So every time I experienced something of lower vibration, I allowed myself to experience it. There was no getting around the pain and the suffering of the emotion. But at the same time, I always asked, whether it was crying out to God when I'm, on the floor completely shattered, asking God, what does this mean? What's the bigger purpose here? And so it's not about diving so deep into those emotions that you get lost.
Right.
But it's about trying to reach for something that will help pull you out of it.
And that's such an important message. I think that's what everyone needs to hear right now, that we don't have to go down the rabbit hole of all those emotions and to get swallowed up by it. Where when you ask the right question, see, a lot of us, I don't think, know to ask that question sometimes. So when they hear it, like from someone like you who's been there, and you just said, well, I knew how to ask that question, which is such a gift. A lot of people do, but then they get, that's where the victimhood comes from, and we all get caught in that. But, a lot of us do. And then we realize, and then if we keep searching and we keep going, well, this isn't where I want to be, then we can step into what you're saying is that expansion and that consciousness that you can get, the expanded consciousness you can get from the gold that you're going to get from this experience. It's like, okay, what is next? What do I need to know from this? And that's the biggest lesson that I think is what we're getting right now, even with all the astrological pushes we've gotten this year, and yeah, it's a powerful message. Thank you for that. That is, I love that, because I know how many people are watching you now, and to explain it like that is such a nice, direct way, and people will get that, and they'll really say, okay, that's what I need to do, because we do forget.
It's funny because before we got on the call, about 30 minutes to an hour before, I was kind of thinking about what is it that wanted to come through for this call. and, you know, just allowing that greater aspect of me to lead and bring through whatever needed to come through. And it started kind of, point being is the message, the greater message of oneness consciousness, which we are all tapped into, is trying to get us to step into this place of greater expansion. And this is greater expansion in not your physical or your energetic or your mind. This is expansion in that consciousness realm, which is the network of that connects all things. And from there, you look back and you're able to connect all the dots. You're able to see how all of the puzzle pieces of your life connect together, not only within your line of your life, but within your family and those who are connected to you. Everything is connected. And so they showed me how, kind of like a jar, and your experience, your life coming into this physical form was about pure expansion, because you're expanding here in the physical as well as the non-physical. And so everything, every situation, every experience that you come across on your path, on your journey, is like a jar that you're adding marbles to. And every time you approach a situation or a point of expansion and you choose love over fear, you choose to reach for a higher point of expansion than where you are, because you can find yourself in suffering and pain and lower vibration. And if you choose to overcome that, then you're putting the marbles into that jar. Because when you overcome it, then you're choosing your connection to the greater divine source that is within you. And when you come across those situations and they're lower vibration and you're in suffering and pain and all of that, and you do, maybe not in that moment choose for the next highest thing, but you allow yourself to have that victim mentality and dive deeper into those emotions. And I want to say there's no right path here, because whatever you experience or have experienced, that's exactly how it needed to play out. But the point is that every time you choose not to choose love, then you're just putting yourself in a further, you're disconnecting yourself a little bit more from that inner source within. And so it's like taking marbles out of that jar. And so every time your life is about putting more and more marbles in that jar until you reach these points of even greater expansion, such as for me, it was that kind of breakthrough of connecting to this oneness consciousness, where so much information and knowledge started coming through. And that's where a lot of people are at kind of right now in their marble journey, and getting to this huge expansive breakthrough point where they're connecting to this huge vast part of them that they needed all of the marble layers first, the foundational layers first. And the other thing that came through is that there is so much power in those really, really low points, the points of hitting rock bottom, basically, because your point of expansion can come in two ways: creation and destruction. A person can continue their life putting marbles in their jar because it comes from love. They're always choosing love over fear, love over fear. But for other people, that's not the way that they chose to experience. And so they continue to take the marbles out and keep getting disconnected. Where that puts them is eventually it'll put them into a place of hitting that rock bottom, right? And because creation energies are the same in destruction and creation, you're going to find the expansion that you need, whether you're in the creation or the destruction mode. Meaning rock bottom can also allow for that huge breakthrough moment, which has occurred for a lot of people. When they hit rock bottom, they suddenly find God, right? They find that greater aspect of them, because it's a powerful breakthrough point too. It's two ends of it's the same stick, same powerful energy, just expressed differently. And so even in those moments that's why in those moments of pain and suffering and lower vibration, those act as the greatest expansion points. It showed me those, if you're able to somehow overcome it in some way, whether if you have to hit rock bottom or you choose love in that transformation of that energy, it's like putting a burst of marbles into that jar. It provides expansion in so many ways.
Mm. Yeah, that is exactly what that's how I understand it. And I love that you connected the creation and the destruction, because people think just because they're going down that path of thing despair, that there's no coming back. And there's always a chance to come back. There's always a chance. And that's why my mantra is always never give up, no matter how bad it looks. If you take a little step the other direction or ask for help or whatever, something opens up for you. It's like the tunnel, the light at the end of the tunnel kind of thing. It'll start shining. A little twinkle will start coming where you go, okay, or you feel a little bit of a lift in yourself that like, okay, I can get through this. I know I can. And that's the message that everyone needs to hear, that no matter how bad it is, you can still get through this and get what you need on this path, no matter how hard it looks, no matter how bleak it is, because we've heard plenty of those stories, right? Plenty.
Absolutely.
So I love, and so you said so when you explain oneness, you talk about that's your higher self. You're talking about that is the connection to the higher self, and that is the connection to all beings of higher self.
That's where everyone is connected to, essentially. It's just that there's so many different breakdowns of that oneness aspect. So when you think of there's so many different layers that we're existing within because of all of the different frequencies and vibrations and realities that are being created. Because if you see each of us as being source, our own source, we're creating our own realities, we're creating our own universes and experiences, but we're all vibrating at different layers of frequency. And this goes along with emotion and how there are many different layers of frequency just in the emotional scale. And if you find yourself in low frequency and someone else finds themselves in high frequency, these two people are experiencing and creating in completely different layers, right? But essentially, we all stem back to that seed of oneness, which is the all, which is, as explained to me, absolutely nothing. And in nothing is everything. And we're experiencing from breakdowns and breakdowns and breakdowns and breakdowns and breakdowns from that one essential allness, nothingness, everything, right? And from where we are here in these human physical bodies, because we're perceiving with our own lens of creation and our own frequency and vibration, then we're going to perceive even our higher selves differently. So the frequency that I'm able to reach up into, to tap into my higher self, is going to be different from the next person who's able to tap up and reach into their higher self. There's, like I was saying, just so many different layers. It's so very complex, and it's a very, very interwoven web of creation going on, for sure.
But you can put that into such great words that I think that helps people see it. What does that mean? Like we talk about frequencies, and so you're telling them there's so many frequencies, and this is where you are in your feelings and in your experiencing. So
many.
Yeah.
So many. And all goes through your lens that you have here in your physical body. So like I was saying, you and I could tap into the same energy, but first of all, feel it and experience it differently, express it differently, interpret it differently, receive the messages differently. And that's why all we can really do is share our perspective of what we're tapping into. And then because we're all puzzle pieces of the biggest puzzle. So we all each hold our own knowledge that when we come together, especially through sharing, then we get the bigger picture eventually. And, some of us are farther away from each other in that bigger puzzle piece. And then you get into vibration and frequency, which are maybe farther apart. So if I give a message and someone doesn't resonate with it, it just simply means that we're not in the same vibrational space, because our interpretation maybe of that same thing is so different.
Yeah, absolutely. So you talk about an inner vibrational guidance system. Do you want to talk is that kind of what you're talking about now? Is this part of that?
It's kind of where the guides have been moving me into helping other people with at this time, because it's about because first of all, things are happening really, really fast.
Yes.
People are expanding in so many different ways. Not only it's definitely through the consciousness, which is definitely what's shifting, but then that filters into the physical body, the mind, the heart, everything. So everything is shifting based upon the leadership of that consciousness expanding into that oneness consciousness. And so what the guides have been really trying to have people harness is your connection, because so many, like I was saying, so many layers are happening, so many things are happening, so many changes, so many shifts in the collective consciousness, in your individual consciousness, in what's going on in the physical realities as those consciousness plays out, that really this is a time to connect to that your inner divine source being that everyone is able to tap into, because that is the tether that's pulling you towards 5D and pulling you more into the realm of that oneness consciousness. And so what does that, well, first of all, it's easier now to tap into it and be guided by it because we're in a new higher frequency state. Before, maybe like 20 years ago, it wasn't as easy to feel it and it's a lot of people, you might think of it as intuition, but it's like feeling that intuition and then diving even deeper in terms of asking, what's the message behind this intuition? What's the message here that my inner divine source being is trying to tell me? And it's really simple. It goes based off of the emotional guidance scale, sort of, but taking it to a new layer, if you will, in terms of if you're feeling low vibrations, that just simply means that you're disconnected from source. You're disconnected from who you truly are. If you're feeling higher vibrations, then that means that you are further in alignment with the source within. But the point is we're not trying to, in 3D, we very much created from the duality scale, right? Your emotions create your reality. If you feel something, you can pull it into your reality. Feel something, pull it into your reality. But the thing is that created a lot of polarity and a lot of like ups and downs and people reacting. That's just how it was in the awareness of duality and your experience of it at the same time. But moving into 5D, we're moving not into highs and lows, but we're moving into balance. And from that balanced state, people would call it the 0 point state. That's the connection to the source within. That's the connection to your inner vibrational guidance scale. That's the connection to you creating as source creator, not from a high or a low point, but creating from the complete balanced point. And so when you find yourself, for example, if something happened that triggered me and made me very upset, even moving into 5D, there's duality, there's emotion. You're not being a monotone neutrality robot. That we're still going to exist with duality and with emotion, but the way that we perceive it and experience it is going to be different, because we're going to perceive it and experience it from more of that oneness consciousness perspective. So say like I was saying, I experienced something that triggered me and made me very upset. In 3D, I could get upset and continue with that spiral and spin and spin and spin and say, this person, I'm a victim, this person did this to me and whatever. And that continues feeding that lower vibration. In 5D, when you hold that state of balance, first of all, and say you experience something of lower vibration, that's totally fine. But you're still aware that you're connected to this more balanced oneness state. So you're going to feel that emotion, whether you get upset or whatever. But eventually you're going to say, okay, there's something here that's tethering me to more of this oneness consciousness, more of a balanced state. So I'm going to step back and I'm going to figure this out, kind of breaking down that feeling of lower vibration so that you don't get stuck in it, but that you learn from it and find that greater purpose from it so that it offers you points of expansion.
So you're actually, instead of reacting now, which is like the 3D way of doing it, you're stepping away and going, okay, let me look at this. It's really going in. And that's what we've been talking about so much, about going inside. And you're talking about your inner guidance. You're going into your inner guidance, which is 5D, and just saying, okay, what do I got to get? What do I need to learn from this? And that is the biggest message right now.
Absolutely. It's saying, I'm feeling upset, I'm feeling lower vibration, and that inner vibrational guidance scale, which is your connection to the source within, is the pinging saying, hey, you're feeling low vibration because you're farther away from me. Let's get back into alignment. Let's get back into alignment. But understanding that you being farther away from the source within is not just being farther away, but it's an expansion point. So seeing it as an opportunity that, ooh, I'm in low vibration. Let's get out of this and create expansion for myself.
Mm. Yeah. Wow. That's really, I love that. That's a great explanation. So, how does this create our reality and navigate us through ascension? Because you talk about ascension. So, and would you call ascension getting into 5D?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ascension is the pathway towards 5D because we move from 3D into 5D, and the ascension is the journey of the movement. And the journey is called ascension because you are technically leveling up in many different ways, opening up more expansion. And it's the integration of higher and higher frequency within your physical and your energetic body here in your experience on Earth, connected to your non-physical aspect, which is also expanding. The both of you are expanding. You and your greater aspect are expanding. And then when you see it on an even greater, wider perspective, your entire universe is expanding.
Mm. Well, they do say when we expand here that the whole universe is expanding, which means not just us, but our fellow travelers in the universe that are out there. So yeah, that's a good explanation, because I wanted people to understand, because you hear the word ascension and not a lot, and it's like maybe most of the people here will know, but you never know, and there's always someone who doesn't. So I think clarity to me is always the biggest help in the whole world, you know.
Yeah, and it's important. The law of attraction knowledge was important because it helped people to get into a space of understanding that you create your reality.
Mm.
And so now, as we level up with ascension and we level up in uh, our frequency and the dimensions that we exist within, we're taking that knowledge of law of attraction that many of us learned in probably in the 3D space,
Yeah.
to manifest the job and to manifest the money and to manifest, all of these things, tangible aspects in our 3D experience. But now we want to try to get that person's perspective of law of attraction to now manifest the way that you create your ascension and your pathway into New Earth 5D. Because you taking one step after another is not just going to happen. You have to make it happen. You have to have the intention to hold higher frequency. You have to have the intention to manifest a higher frequency body. You have to have the intention to manifest the pathway for you to open further and further into your greater soul mission and the greater purpose of why you're here. And for a lot of people, the ascension process is opening up those doorways for people to connect with that greater soul mission.
Oh yeah. Yep. Even me doing this show is my kind of expansion, which is a huge expansion, which I never foresaw. And I love that. That makes such a difference between the 3D and the 5D expression. And
Yeah.
how we have to make it happen now, which I know they always said that there's no steps going into 5D. You have to take the step, and then it creates under your foot every time. That's why one of my questions has always been, how do you see us as creators? And you're telling us right now. How do you see us as creators? How would you put that in another way?
Absolutely. I mean, how do I see us as creators? We are source creator. We are that, it's like trying to rewind the entire universe as what it is right now, rewind it all the way back to the beginning when there was just absolutely nothing but everything.
Right.
Showing me it always shows me like a seed. In that seed is everything, a burst of the entire tree, right? But this is the whole thing of the manifestation process of your ascension, is the whole going back to the putting the marbles into that jar. Every time you choose love over fear, you're choosing your ascended state of being.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to conscious now, but now it's easier because people are conscious.
Mm-hmm.
There's no excuse to say I'm going to forget my more expanded awareness and go back into the spinning of the wheels of those lower frequencies and creating by default. I know in my awareness that I create my reality, and that the thoughts that I have equals a vibration that then creates. So that in itself is a powerful tool to help you get further and further and further in your ascension journey.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. I love the great explanation. I love that you put that into such great words. So you talked about how we create our own reality, and that's and the idea of creators. And so now, what do you think your role is in this current reality as a conscious messenger of source? Can you talk a little more about that?
A lot of it was that I'm now beginning to realize, and everyone is stepping into this, is leading by example.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, at first it was just messages, and it's like, okay, I have this information, I'm just going to put it out there. Anyone else who resonates with it, great, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that by sharing information, that other people are going to expand in some way. And I learned that through QHHT. And now it's come to a point of understanding, especially with the messages that I put out. Everything that I put out is something that I have either experienced or have felt in some way, have felt very strongly with.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me to have that confirmation of going through it myself, then I'm able to put it out, and other people who are able to resonate with it will come into that harmonic resonance with what I have.
Mm-hmm.
And leading by example is to help other people lift into those spaces.
Mm-hmm.
If they resonate with it, like I said, some people may not resonate with it, some people may. Some people are looking to move into those new spaces, but they don't know how to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And so for those who are able to lead by example, you're simply holding a space of frequency from wherever you are and helping other people to match that frequency with you.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I got chills on that. That was a great explanation. So can you just tell me what's QHHT? I'm not really sure what that is.
Oh, okay. That QHHT is a practice that was developed by the quantum healing pioneer, Dolores Cannon.
Oh, it's Dolores. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Did you ever meet her? Did you meet her in person?
No, I have not. I took the class online after she passed, but the class online was taught by her previous classes. So from her videos of her teaching,
Sure.
which is why I chose that online option.
Yes, I've listened to her quite a bit.
And QHHT, for those who don't know, is quantum healing hypnosis technique. Okay. And it is a way of putting a person into a hypnotic or more like a meditative state. And in that state, being able to essentially where it puts you is into that balanced state, so that you can connect to that inner voice, the inner divine being. But in QHHT, we call it the higher self or the subconscious, which holds knowledge of you that you cannot really tangibly hold in your conscious mind. And then of course there is, for me personally, I branched off into BQH, which is Beyond Quantum Healing, led by Candace Kroll Goldman. And that is something that brings in more uniqueness to the practitioner, meaning because I feel it's really important, because right now we're in a more ascended state. So everyone's growing and expanding their own abilities of how you connect with that greater source within, the greater aspect of you. And how you're going to connect with someone is going to be different for each practitioner. And so Beyond Quantum Healing helps to bring in a lot of other modalities into that space of healing and connection to the higher self for the client in many different unique ways.
Yeah, I started listening to Dolores a couple of years ago, and oh, it was so magnificent. And I'd heard her name, but I hadn't been directed to her yet. And then all of a sudden I was there listening to her, and she is amazing. And now so many people are channeling her that she's come back. Have you channeled her at all?
Well, I wouldn't say what I do is channeling for
Right,
so
right. But you're connecting with your oneness. So I get
yeah.
it. That's a good correction. Yeah, that's a good correction.
I have energies pop in when I feel them strongly, such as maybe I'll feel Dolores Cannon come in somehow, but it's kind of hard to explain because everything's just filtering through me.
Right, right.
But
You're
I'll
one.
feel it for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. I love, the message you gave a few minutes ago about, I can't even repeat everything you said, but it was all about connecting with our source and how we help each other with the frequencies. And when someone holds the space, I mean, that's the oneness right there. I could just feel like this huge expansion
Absolutely.
coming out when you said that. And I could just see how we're all holding space for each other in so many ways. And this is the oneness factor that, people talk about. And, you've heard the word, you hear the word, you hear the word, but to really feel, I felt the word, I felt the whole energy when you said that. And I'm hoping that everyone out there is listening and feels the same, because it's powerful when you speak it. I can almost feel the frequency in your voice. Your voice has an amazing frequency, and that it's almost hypnotic. When you said hypnotic, I went, her voice can almost be hypnotic sometimes, because it's just a soothing voice. It's very soothing, and it's very gentle, but it's very deep as far as what you're delivering. You always deliver really information that's just incredible. So getting back to your inner being knowledge, you say that knowledge connects us to our past, our present, future, and beyond in this now moment. And that is a lot. So can you explain a little bit more? How can you tell us more about that?
Definitely. But first, what I
Sure.
wanted to say is, and it relates,
Yeah.
because going back to Dolores Cannon, as you were talking about how, holding space for other people to come on up to the space that you're holding. Dolores Cannon did that through her work. She was holding this space. It's almost like holding and creating a grid for light workers to then jump onto and hop, because for her and for me personally, through her work was a lot of the unlocking of doors into this much, much deeper space within me that I wouldn't have been able to unlock if it wasn't for those doors that Dolores Cannon opened.
Yeah, that is so true. I mean, I've heard her, I haven't experienced the work, but I've heard so much about it. Now I'm really curious.
And
because it's like, you're ready when you're ready,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
that goes for, everyone kind of holding that space. You're helping to unlock things within people. And that's the oneness part. It's like holding your space as that puzzle piece, and then helping other people realize that well, let me word it a little bit differently. It's like holding your space as the puzzle piece in knowing that you are part of the greater puzzle for other people who are puzzle pieces who don't understand that they're part of the greater puzzle. And so it helps to unlock things for them to then start making those connections of putting the greater puzzle together. But going back to the in the now moment where you have access to everything. How do we put this? The now moment is basically that space that everyone is moving into as you move into 5D. It is that oneness consciousness space, because that's also going back to QHHT. It's kind of like that space of you in that balanced place where you can connect to that greater inner voice, the higher self. And again, even in the higher self, there are a lot of different layers, right, to connecting to that greater aspect of you. Some aspects that people are able to tap into are closer to them. Some are higher, some are greater, if you will. Some are, there's so many different layers. So for a lot of people in there, especially starting off with hypnosis and QHHT, they may be able to access information just about them directly, right? The questions that they have about themselves. And that's because they're accessing a higher self that's closer in range, if you will, to, if you think of radio, it's like you're accessing something closer to you. but then other people are able to access divine information from their galactic beings and higher frequency aspects. And that's because they can access a range that's a little bit further out, if you think of the radio. And that's kind of the space of the now moment in terms of you being able to access everything, all the ranges in your now moment. You are the radio tower, and you're all the frequencies, all the signals coming into you, but of course it's being filtered through you as a radio tower and your senses and your lens and your frequency especially. So for some people, your now moment may be you being that radio tower, but the frequency that you're receiving may not be very far. You may be from where you are vibrationally, maybe accessing your local radio stations, all of them. And that's totally fine because you're still in your now moment. And as you go further along on your journey, you're going to be able to open up that frequency wave, I guess, of accessing greater and greater channels.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. So let's see. So you talk about ways that you create feelings of oneness with when you go deeper. Is there anything particular you offer for support for people in that work? Do you, like, what particular kind of work do you offer that you think has made the biggest impact when you do work with people? Does that make sense?
What do you mean?
Okay, so when you state there are ways you can create a reality based upon feelings of oneness. So I don't know, I guess, can you go a little deeper on that? Does that make sense? Is that a question that, did you just answer it? Yeah.
So that is everything kind of connecting together into how you create your reality from that point of view of oneness. So it's you being in the now moment, and from that now moment, you have access to everything. But also in that now moment, you're able to be in that state of balance, the 0 point state. So that what we were talking about, being able to create, not necessarily from the duality scale, you're not creating from being sad or being happy. You're creating from the point of source within that balanced state, and creating so that you then experience the emotions. And in your experience of the emotions, you still have that connection back to source, back to you in that balanced state, to then analyze the greater purpose and what the expansion is in everything that you've created. But this also goes into the whole inner vibrational guidance scale, and that communication that you have not only with yourself, but with your entire reality. So when you start connecting more to the energy and the consciousness of oneness, you're connecting to the awareness, which is what you perceive, that everything in your reality is a creation that you have created, and that everything in your reality offers a message for you to, maybe it's the next steps that you need to take, or how to, wherever you're at in your now moment, there's messages being offered to you. So, for example, and in that now moment, a person can't necessarily stay there and see the messages if that person is thinking of the past or the future, or existing in the past and the future. That's why the now moment is so powerful, and why people are being pushed further and further into it, and almost being forced to recognize what's going on in my now moment. What does this mean? Why is this situation playing out right now? Why am I feeling this way right now? Why is there a spider outside of my window right now? Why is there, why are there these intense thunderstorms going on right now in my now moment? There's messages everywhere. And when people are able to understand those messages, then they begin to connect greater to the purpose that you hold as a source creator, creating your experience. And in that recognition is you going back to the marbles and the thing, there's a huge expansion there that fills your jar up, and boom, you can connect stronger and stronger to that source within that greater aspect of you.
So just to make this like a more concrete example that I'm getting is, when you and I started talking before we literally opened up the show, you had a lot of noise around your area, and you said, oh my goodness, the landscapers are here. Isn't this crazy? I can't believe it. And they were making all this noise, and you had your windows closed, and we could still hear it I could hear it even through the Zoom. And I said, okay, let's set the intention to let that go away. So it's gone. It hasn't come back. We haven't had any interruption. And we set the intention for the flow of this show. We created our reality, essentially, didn't we?
Absolutely. But at the same time, when, the loud mower sounds were going on outside before we started, I had asked myself, why is this, the entire day before this was completely clear. Why is this noise going on right now? And in that moment, and again, conversations with the universe, everything. Why is this happening for me? Why is this happening for me? And when I asked myself that, what had come through is because there was resistance there. I was still, this is my first
That's great
interview. Yeah. And it's like, you're holding resistance a little bit. Let it go, let it go, let it go.
Oh.
And as you help to make that intention, it let it go.
That's so beautiful. Oh my goodness. I love that. Now the audience can understand exactly that we went through that experience ourselves. And to get back in balance and resonance, we created it. And you asked the universe, what am I learning? You got the answer, which was resistance. And we created the intention to change it.
Exactly.
Perfect. Oh my goodness.
And it's also a co-creation between both of our sources within, co-creating together to create this experience, right? Me not really thinking of it, but I wouldn't have thought maybe to dive as deep into removing it or something. I would have just let it go. But then you co-creating with me to help let it go. So that's power too, in the sources within each individuals as you meet people along your path to co-create some form of new expansion in some way, whatever, there's no small, there's no big. And even in the messages, something simple as that, there's messages everywhere. The messages don't have to be something huge. It can be very, very small things. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like just, all right, she's in resistance. I mean, sure, why not? And I mean, that makes so much sense. And there was something else that just came up, and now it's kind of, all right, but, all right, it'll come back. So, so what do you offer for support for people in the work that you do, that you feel is the most important part in making the biggest impact?
Again, I feel going back to the whole leading by example and being just the importance and power of beingness. So even for a lot of people moving into this space, it's we kind of underestimate just us being just as people, humans existing in this world. But then from there, when you understand the strength of you being, because you're like a light post that helps other people kind of question or like, you're like, okay, something's going on here. You help to bring, again, it's like the harmonic resonance that everyone holds as an individual. And your harmonic resonance will sweep other people who are desiring the same harmonic resonance, or because this is all happening on a soul level. So the souls are coming into harmonic resonance with each other. And that's why there's a lot of different light workers, because everyone's holding a different harmonic resonance to help the souls within their groups or who are resonating with them closer. But first of all, the beingness and being able to lead by example, being able to sort of practice. For me, the messages that are coming through, a lot of time, it's like real time things, like something I just experienced, now I learned, and now I'm going to share what just happened, to help other people who may be experiencing that. But also, so beingness, and then being able to share my messages with other people who resonate with it. And then being able to help people really through those things that they may be stuck or not understanding what those messages are at this moment, purely through the messages that come through, is the power.
Yeah, so you're totally working in the now moment, because you keep delivering exactly what keeps happening. You're staying in the now moment at all times.
Absolutely. Yeah. Most of the time, I don't even know what the next message is going to be.
Right.
And I allow for the complete openness, and I keep the intention open of okay, the next message will come when it comes, or something, I'll see something and then I'll see it again and a different form of it, and then I know there's a conversation with my inner being showing me in physical manifestation what they want me to talk about, or at least now go inward into that space where I can bring forward more deeper information, because now I know the topic that they want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or something that I'll have to experience and then come out of it and understand what the purpose was of that experience and then share.
Yeah, yeah, it's wonderful. I mean, yeah, this is the whole purpose that we're here now, is to help everyone move into oneness and to stay in the now moment, because the now is really all we have. It's the truth of what we're living in. And people have heard that before, but you're putting it into the 5D realm now, which is making it in the harmonic resonance with people and all that you have talked about. It's a beautiful explanation. So why did you choose this calling? I mean, you kind of mentioned it. Is there anything else? I know you're talking about your mom and she left, and that really pushed you into it in a lot of ways, because you needed to know what's on the other side and why is that there. So any other reason that you jumped in?
Well, I mean, ever since I was a kid, I was looking for something. I was looking for something that I didn't know until I found it, which is now. This
Mm-hmm.
feeling now that I have of connection and divine connection, alignment. I think my entire life I was looking for alignment. I was looking for complete balance. And that's why I went through rocky stages, everyone does,
Mm-hmm.
because you have to tune. You have to know up to know down, and then to know what the balance point is, right? And then now that I know what it feels like, I know that's what I was searching for my entire life. So it was me going through a lot of, religious studies and yoga and spirituality, and even like weird unknown things like ghosts and uh,
Mm-hmm.
UFOs and aliens and everything
Of
like that.
course. Yeah.
Searching for what is this unknown thing, that how can I make the unknown known in my awareness, because I knew that there was something so much more than this physical reality. And now that I'm in this space, well, like I was saying, it's a lot of breadcrumbs along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was studying religion in college, I had studied like the Buddhism and all of the Eastern philosophies and everything that spoke about past lives. It
Mm-hmm.
was the one thing in those teachings that I was like, I don't really believe in past lives at this time. This was in college, but it was significant enough for me to say, I don't really believe in it, for me to focus on it in the realm of not really believing it. So I kind of swept it up off to the side. And then I want to say about 5 years or so ago, 5 or 6 years ago, I was in a space of another kind of vast, very powerful expansion point. And I knew that there was something deeper that I needed to connect to. My connection to spirituality was going deeper, deeper, deeper. And I came across this, I found Abraham Hicks more than 6 years ago, but backing it up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the timeline specifically,
Don't worry.
but I went through a very intense expansion point, found Abraham Hicks, which helped me out of that expansion point because I was in a very low point, helped me out of it. Boom, a huge expansion point right there. That's when I dove deeper into spirituality, because even though I knew from a young age about the law of attraction, I was introduced really early on, and my dad basically lived it. And it only then made sense. Once I found Abraham Hicks, it made sense. It clicked.
Mm-hmm.
I dove into that, creating the reality, and that connected me deeper into my spirituality, because it was connecting to something in the unknown and making it known, something that I was searching for my entire life. And then I came across Many Lives, Many Masters by Dr.
Oh,
Brian
yes.
Weiss, that
Oh, I
book.
love that book. Yes.
And I was like, oh, past lives, I don't know, but I'll read it. It looks interesting. I wanted to dive deeper
Yep.
into the unknown. And it was just time for me to look into it. And that's when everything clicked. And I was like, oh, this now makes sense. Even though I didn't believe it in college, I it makes sense now. And that's when I wanted to go even deeper. I found Dolores Cannon and went all down those rabbit holes.
Yeah.
And when I connected to Dolores Cannon, that's when I knew I had found exactly what I was looking for. I signed up to be a QHHT practitioner, and then, you know, the rest getting to where I am right now.
Yeah, which is, oh, it's an amazing path. Wow, it's beautiful, because I know on YouTube, I'll let you know, audience, Jessica has 40,000 followers.
Oh, I don't
So,
think it's 40,000.
oh, I thought it was.
No, not there yet.
I don't know. I saw it said, is it 4,000? No, I thought it was more.
Honestly, I haven't checked. I'm a little
All right, I
I
won't
feel
say
like
anything,
it's
but she has a huge following. I thought last time I looked, it was something like that, Jessica. You might be surprised yourself.
you
I
may be
haven't
looking
looked
into the
lately.
future.
Yeah, well, maybe I'm seeing the future. See, I'm already got the step in the future for you. So anyway, thank you for that. That was beautiful. So one last message. Do you have any particular message you think our audience needs to know for the rest of 2019?
Absolutely. The now moment. It's been coming in really, really strongly. So for the past, you know, since I started my YouTube channel, it was a lot of it bringing forward a lot of knowledge and a lot of, I think it was a playground, but now it's moving further and further into like now moment importance. And just going into what's been happening with 2019 trilogy energy, I speak all about it on my YouTube videos, and the integration of balance in 2019, which is divine masculine, divine feminine, and Christ consciousness energy, which is essentially that oneness consciousness. Christ consciousness is oneness consciousness in body. And so 2020 is an alignment year, just 2020, 22, 1111,
Wow.
00. And so this is why 2019 has been so important in balancing energy for people. And you can see it stirring in the collective. In the journey towards balance, like I was saying, you have to know high and low to know what's that midpoint. And that's everything kind of, you can see it playing out in the collective. You can see it playing out on that global stage, a lot of the chaos happening in order to push people into a balanced state. And it's oftentimes when you go on that roller coaster that you're like, okay, I now want to just stand on the ground, the solid ground, right? You want that balance. And so people in going through all of this chaos will then be able to find balance in some way, but it's happening on that energetic soul level, all of this balancing. And with the fall equinox, the oneness consciousness came in to open for the collective consciousness, which is really opening people, you know, for people who are in that frequency space of holding oneness consciousness, a lot more people are going to be able to be swept up into that space to connect to oneness in a whole new way, which is more tangible in your, not tangible in the consciousness, but available more in your consciousness that you then filter into your aspect, your being. And so because oneness consciousness is so powerful, it's your tether to 5D. A lot of people on their way up to be swept in like a vacuum you may find yourself in resistance because it's such a powerful push. And so the number one message that has been coming through is get yourself into a place of non-resistance. So that as these people holding oneness consciousness here, very, very strong, the people who are kind of being swept up into that state due to harmonic resonance, if you are able to put yourself into a space of non-resistance, your journey up there is going to be fast and quick and easy. But if you're going to be, you know, swimming in the opposite direction the whole way through, kicking and screaming your way, you know, then it's going to be a lot harder. And you're going to encounter all of those things that's going to create more of that resistance for you in order to try to let go of. And so if you can put yourself into some sort of non-resistance, meaning bring more flow, allowance, ease, joyfulness, relaxation, restoration, anything to put you into that place of non-resistance and to just completely surrender. It's going to be really, really easy for you to move into that balanced state. You're also going to be able to find that balanced state a lot easier because people are like, what does it feel like? What does the now moment feel like? What does balance feel like? If you put yourself into non-resistance, it's very, very easy to put yourself into that balanced state. And from there, things will start opening up for you because you're going to be able to see the things that you couldn't necessarily have seen in states of resistance or past and future.
Wow. Wow. That, I think we all needed to hear that message. That is such a wonderful, clear message for us all. Thank you so much, Jessica. Wow. So I know you have a special gift for the audience. Would you like to tell them about it?
Yeah. So speaking of balance and alignment, the powerful thing that helped me on my journey in helping to align my energy. This was in the beginning when I didn't realize that I was working to align to nature, which was the opening of alignment in general. And aligning to nature is the number one thing that's probably the easiest thing that you can do to find balance and alignment. Because a lot of people, you're caught up in work, you're caught up in family, you're caught up in all of these other obligations that you have that put you out of alignment with the cycle of nature. And the cycle of nature is trying to call you back in, because then in that cycle, you're in the now moment, you're more present. And that's essentially where everyone's headed, right? You're balanced. And so I was very strongly called to work with the moon, because the moon is probably the easiest, most tangible way to physically see nature's cycle.
Yeah.
The moon, as well as the sun, and everything is ascending. So, we can go into the whole moon being an illusion thing, but the moon serves a purpose. It serves a purpose for humanity in helping us to see the cycles, that reflection of nature. And so the gift that I have is on my website. I have a alignment guide through lunar energy.
Nice.
And what that does is it helps you to understand the cycles of nature and how it works, meaning the ebbs and the flows, the inhales and the exhales of nature and the universe, the active and how important a balance of both active and receptive phases are, and just kind of the balancing of the yin and the yang energy within.
Wow, that's a great gift. I mean, I'm a moon child. I call myself a moon child. So I love that gift. When I saw that, I said, oh, this is powerful. So everyone grab that one, because I think it's going to help you get to where you need to be for the 2020 energies coming through here that Jessica's telling us about. And you can all feel it, whether you can put a name to it or not, but you know that we're getting ready for big things here. So that was powerful. Thank you. And I just want to thank all our viewers for joining us today. And please email us with any comments or special moments you had during this interview with Jessica. I know that what she's shared is so important today, and it's just a great message for all of us. So thank you so much, Jessica. I love to read your emails. We love to read them. Jessica will get some, send them to Jessica. You can send them to me. We'll get them to her if I need to, but she'll have a direct link that you can connect with her. And I answered all mine personally in the first season, so I will be looking to do that again. And Jessica, thank you again for being the cosmic messenger of source that you are. And you're giving us so much and helping people with the incredible advice that you share with them. And you're helping them unlock their passions, ignite their authenticities, and finally create the lives they love. So thank you. I'm Janet Miller, and I'll see you on the next episode.